The final week of the season was intense. The Thunderous made some moves earlier in the week that were met with some skepticism, but ultimately they paid off. He got himself the win and, more importantly, a spot in the playoffs. The Kingdras also ended their season on a high note as they 6-0'd the War Turtles and got themselves the 1 seed. This unfortunately means that the Pokemon team is the odd man out in the playoff race, but hats off to you, Zeke. You had a great season, especially for someone who's never done anything related to competitive Pokemon. We discuss all this and more right now on Pokemon Center. Everybody, and welcome to Pokemon Center, the show dedicated to keeping you up to date on everything happening in the GSPL. I am joined here by Harrison of the Miami Metagross.
Hey guys, how's it going?
It's going. I don't speak for everyone, I guess, but it's going fine for me. And that's actually it. Just Harrison and me today. Today we're going to recap the Mons and games, look ahead to next week. Talk about actually quite a bit of transactions that happened since the last one. I think like 6 or 7 or something, like 6 trades in one, or 6 free agent moves in one trade. And then, we talked about upcoming games, and then just MVPs for each team of the season. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's get into it.
All right. So I guess first off, just kind of last week, let's talk a little bit about just what happened. Any games in particular or Pokemon stand out to you from said games?
Right. So I think the biggest standout game has got to be the 6-0 from the Kingdras on the War Turtles.
Sure.
Just an absolute masterpiece. Absolute shellacking, and I think an absolute masterpiece of a game from Justice. I think he made some really great plays and brought a really solid yet unexpected team. Against Gabe, and being able to take the 6-0 and the win, getting him into the playoffs for sure, but also with enough of a domination to secure the 1 seed.
Sure.
Just an absolute flipping of the standings going at the end of the week. Because also partnering that with my loss to the Thunderous.
Okay,
it completely allowed the standings to switch, because Justice was fighting for a 3 or a 4 seed until I lost and Gabe got beat by him, which allowed him to overtake the 1 seed because of his differential.
Yeah.
I think that was extremely important.
Yeah.
And then the game against me and Austin, obviously not how I wanted it to go, but
sure.
But it was a very good game, and it showed some different sets that Austin can bring. The sub-seed Whimsicott.
Yeah.
I thought the Druddigon was also really good with the Rocky Helmet plus Rough Skin.
Mm-hmm. That played a role for sure.
It can really punish those U-turners and Volt turners.
Yep. Even the Arctozolt, I believe Bolt Beak makes contact, so even the Arctozolt doesn't really want to Bolt Beak into it. I mean, he has the ice moves, of course, but
it's a great defensive dragon type.
It is.
It gives you Glare, it gives you Stealth Rocks.
Yeah, Glare is really good.
Outrage, Earthquake. Yeah.
Pressure from the Corviknight coming in big time there.
I never would have expected Pressure to actually have an impact on a game.
Yeah, but it did. I mean, it definitely. I guess like if I was to the 3 keys to Austin's victory were getting rocks up and keeping them up, pressure from Corviknight, and then Subseed Whimsicott, I think were just kind of the 3 determining factors of that game.
Absolutely. It was a real good way to take in some of those new his new free agency acquisition with the Corviknight when we get into that section.
Yeah.
It was a great display of what Corviknight is very, very good at, which is just being a very physically bulky steel type.
Yeah. Special bulk's not bad either, if I remember right.
No, but the physical bulk is definitely stronger. I think it's like 105 and then 85. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So still definitely nothing to scoff at with the special defense, but it is It really thrives as a max HP, max defense, and then if you want to, you could run a little bit of attack for Brave Birds, or you can just go body plus.
Yeah, I mean, his attack is usable, 87, so it's not
Absolutely.
like a chancy or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're just going to have to sacrifice some HP or defense. It just depends on the kind of Corviknight you want to bring.
Sure.
But I think with the max HP, max defense pressure set, it does allow you to stall out a lot of decent attackers.
I agree. It's an underrated ability on defensive mons. Like some mons, like Weavile gets it for some reason, and you're like, well, I guess I just don't have an ability. But
yeah, that's completely useless.
Yeah, but on things like Corviknight, I know other things get it. Kiram actually can get it, I think, and he's got Roost and Substitute, and he can kind of be. His stats are good. That was that game, the Metagross versus the Thundurus. You also talked about the Kingdras versus the War Turtles. Yeah, I mean, I have a hard time really saying much about this game just because it was kind of clear that, I mean, this was not, I don't think Gabe went into this game with the sole intention of I'd like to win this game. I think that was more just like a scouting report for him.
Yeah, which was, I think, a smart way to go about it. I mean, he brought the Flareon, and you don't bring Flareon against a Tyranitar, let alone
especially defensive Flareon.
Yeah. So it was clear that Gabe didn't put the amount of like prep and effort into the game that he might have if it was an actual important game for him.
Sure.
But what it does do is make him have to go up against Justice again next week, which I would not want to do.
Yeah, after getting 6-0'd, I mean, just the mental damage.
Yeah, even if you're going into it expecting yourself to not win and not having put the effort in, a 6-0 is really emotionally damaging.
Yeah, it's I don't know. We haven't had a ton of 6-0s in the season. You would think we had more, but I mean, we've had a few, but. And then I guess, moving along to the other games, the Mudkips versus Monfernos. I don't know. Stealth Rocks did a lot of damage. Jirachi cleaned up. Was kind of what happened there.
Nothing too crazy. It, again, shows the importance of rocks.
It does. It punishes the best move in the game, switching. Bring rocks. There's just not a ton to say about it. And then this game also wasn't particularly close. A little bit of controversy, I suppose, with the Greninja being Protean.
But ultimately not impacting the standings.
Correct. Yeah. Either way, even if we ended up adjusting the differential by 1, but even without it, it didn't actually matter. The standings would have stayed the same due to Austin winning, I guess. So there was that game. Just another Cloyster kind of sweep. I think he had 3 or 4 kills again.
Cloyster really making a good case for his MVP race.
Yeah, leads the league in kills.
And that's probably the best category to lead in to make your
sure. Yeah, especially as we've learned sort of this season, damage stats can be somewhat misleading. A lot of garbage time stats, I would say, for certain mons. I guess one in particular that comes to my mind. But
leading in kills, that shows that you're able to get the job done and deal out good damage as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Again, we're kind of on a time crunch, so let's just move right along here. We've got a lot of transactions. I guess we'll just jump into them and talk about them briefly. I guess we'll break it down by team. So the Thundurus made 2 transactions. They dropped Lando for Corviknight and Heliolisk for Slowking. Essentially just going straight defense here, I guess. Definitely sacrificing some offensive firepower for pretty reliable walls.
No, I would agree. And I think... I struggle to justify dropping a Lando T for anything. But I do think it shows a switch from the Thundurus' thinking to maybe going from a more offensive-minded to a more of a defensive stall-type team, and relying on that Corsola to get in there and set up and potentially sweep. They still have the opportunity with the Sun Up to have a Sawsbuck come in there. But I I think that I do like the dropping of the Heliolisk for the Slowking. I don't think the Heliolisk really did too much.
Yeah, I had a disappointing season. I think Austin had high expectations for it.
And it does fit better on a rain team, in my opinion, to be able to click a Specs Thunder. I get that it has the solar power, but I just feel like it did not really mesh too well. And I think being able to pick up that bulky water type in Slowking that can be physically or especially defensive is a really good idea going into playoffs, because in my opinion, defenses win championships. And I think his defensive shows that going into this week, after beating me, the defense really paid off.
Yeah, and I mean, he does still have some offense. I mean, Porygon Z is always a threat. He can pull out the Sawsbuck as sort of his offensive game plan. Starmie just has a great offensive move pool. So I don't know. It's not like he doesn't have any offense anymore. Yeah, and I mean, it worked out for him this week, I guess. I don't know how important the Slowking was, but the Corviknight definitely... I don't know if he wins that game without the Corviknight. So, yeah.
It was great. The Corviknight was a fantastic wall against my Excadrill, which... since I have to play him 2 times in a row, that definitely, I think, really helps his playoff case. Even if the move was made specifically just to counter me, it does neutralize my Excadrill, which is one of my best offensive weapons.
Yeah, it does. I was a little, I guess, confused as to why he picked up 2 Mons that were weak to Bolt Beak, but it worked out for him.
It did end up working out for him.
Yeah, and I mean, also Corviknight, unless your Porygon is running Thunderbolt, pretty much stonewalls the Porygon as well, as we saw. It can kind of just pressure stall him out.
Yep, he did that with our teams.
Yep. Then I suppose moving on, kind of unfortunate that we don't get to see these Mons in the playoffs, but probably made the biggest moves was the Pokemon team dropping the Garchomp for the Hydreigon, the Empoleon for the Vikavolt, and the Pinsir for the Primeape, and he traded the Articuno for Aggron. So just like 4 moves, over 30% of his team traded or gone in some way. Loses, I guess, a little bit of speed, losing the Garchomp for the Hydra. I mean, literally 4 points, but I don't know. Being faster than 100, and being slower than 100 is more than 4 points of speed. Like, you know what I mean?
It's a big difference.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know how I feel about the Garchomp being dropped for the Hydreigon.
Yeah.
Because looking through his team right now he doesn't have an electric immunity.
Fair, yeah.
Yes. And electric hits 2 of your stronger offensive weapons with between Volcanion and Cloyster. You do have the resistance with Hydreigon, with Golem. Superior, yeah. But I don't know about that move. But I'm also just a big Garchomp fanboy.
Yeah, I think he's great. I think he's great.
But I understand it because Garchomp has had a pretty disappointing season. If you look at the stats, he's brought only 4 kills, being in 4 deaths, but being brought every single time.
And like his damage to his dealt and taken is very similar.
It's just very disappointing for your first round tier 1 pick.
It is. I agree. Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to see like I think a Scale Shot Swords Dance set could have done him well a couple of weeks, but never really came into play. And then I don't know, like the Empoleon for the Vikavolt, maybe he's wanted sticky webs, maybe I don't know. I mean, he did have a few. I mean, I don't know. I guess it helps with his electric weakness a little bit, because then you would have had 3 I don't know. I don't know the exact reasoning, but
I do like the Vikavolt pickup for tier 3. Is it better than Empoleon? I don't know. I think you can make the argument both ways. I understand getting rid of the electric weakness now.
Yeah.
And I do like the ability to be able to run sticky webs. And a Choice Specs Bug Buzz or a Choice Specs Thunderbolt from Vikavolt is going to hurt a lot.
Yeah, it is.
But it'll be interesting to see if in the toilet bowl if the Vikavolt does come and if he brings webs or not, because I feel like that's the biggest contribution that it can bring.
Sure. Yeah.
And have him be able to be electric and have levitate. That's always nice.
It is always cute. Even though, I mean, with the bug typing, he's not actually weak to it, but it is. It can matter, for sure. And I mean, he does have something of a ground. I mean, he has a few like Drapion, Aggron, Volcanion, Golem. They all don't love earthquakes, and he now has at least two. These two have levitate, yep. I believe. So.
Yeah, that's correct. Just hope you don't run into a mold breaker or Excadrill.
Sure. Yeah. Well, he doesn't have to worry about that. And then I guess I don't really know why he traded Articuno for Aggron. I don't know what the reasoning behind that was, but
I don't either. I think Articuno is a far better pick than an Aggron, but maybe that's just a Pokemon he just really wanted to use, and if that's what he wants to do, then
yeah, I guess I could see like he's already got like one of the best special defensive walls in the game. Maybe he just wanted something that could take some physical hits a little better. I don't know. Yeah. All right, and then I suppose the Pinsir for Primeape. I actually do like Primeape quite a bit more than Pinsir. I think it just has a little bit better usable speed. Its abilities are not bad. Defiance pretty good. And so is Vital Spirit, but I don't know, like having something to combat the like intimidates and stuff that you see, or even like sticky webs or something if you're into that. It's good. It has a good offensive move pool. I think it learns most of the elemental punches.
Which is always nice coverage.
Yeah, it gets poison jab to hit fairies. I don't know. It just has good coverage. I don't know. I've seen other people run like scarf sets on it and it do okay. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I think it's pretty good.
I agree with you. I do like the Primeape pickup, and I don't think Pinsir is really doing anything for you.
Yeah. Great. The last transaction was yours, actually, Mr. Owner of the Miami Metagross. It was. Did I get it? Oh no, I didn't. I apologize.
Oh man, Folnet could have grabbed Ferrothorn.
I know. But yeah, Aromatisse. Talk a little bit about Aromatisse.
Yeah, so I wanted to pick up Aromatisse. I wanted a fat Wish Passer.
Sure.
And something that was also a fairy type that wasn't quad weak to steel types.
Because of the Ninetales, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so my Ninetales right now had been my primary fairy go-to. I had the Sylveon, but I did drop the Sylveon for the Porygon too. To sort of shore up my defensive core a little bit more.
Sure.
But now with the Aromatisse, I get that fairy typing back. It can pass some really fat wishes. It's got base, I believe, 101 HP.
Yep.
And then some not too shabby defenses and a really decent special attack stat as well at 99.
Yep.
Pretty slow, but that's not its purpose. Its purpose is to get in there, take some bulky hits, pass some wishes, and then maybe fire off a Moonblast or two.
Sure. Forms a pretty good core with a defensive core with like the Bro as well. It takes the Porygon. It takes knockoffs much better than either of them, just because it doesn't care as much about it. And then it takes like fighting type moves for the Porygon, and so good little core there. Also, Aromaveil's not a bad ability. Really good on abilities or on like these support type mons that want to be clicking things like Heal Bell and stuff. So he basically can't be taunted, can't be encored, things like that.
Yeah, and healers are basically useless ability.
It is. In singles, it's useless. But
So being able to have an ability that at least does something.
Yeah.
It's better than pressure on a Weavile, that's for sure.
Sure. Yeah. And gets Thunderbolt, good coverage.
It's got some decent coverage. It's got a lot of cleric utility, which is something I really liked.
Yeah, I think it gets Encore itself. Yeah, it does.
It's got a higher HP stat, I believe, than Sylveon did, but it's got much lower special defense. Sylveon, I think, is a base 120 or 130 special defense.
Yeah. It's special.
But it's got a fatter HP stat, and going into these last two games, if I'm able to get past Austin, I'm more concerned on on all three of the playoff teams about physical attackers.
Okay.
And And so being able to have something that is a little bit higher HP with the fairy typing to sort of take any dragon type moves.
Sure.
Whether it's from the Pult or whether it's from let's see who's on Austin's team that I was worried about. If I want to take something maybe from the Saws, sure, the Sawsbuck.
Hey man, Sawsbuck's a threat. I played Gen 5 OU, and while it wasn't actually OU, it still showed up from now and then because what?
No, it's a fantastic Sun Sweeper. It is.
Yeah. Sawsbuck's a threat, man. Fear the deer.
Fear the deer.
The Nets learned to fear the deer last night. If anyone here is an NBA fan, but yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Just a good little move pool, good support mod. Yeah. It gets flash can, hit other fairies. I think that's cool.
Yeah, and that was really the thing that drove me to Aromatisse was not so much like its power impact on the opponent, but it was more of its cleric role.
Yeah.
Being able to pass wishes, heal bells, it can throw up screens if I want to. I feel like it's got a lot of great utility and it can really help to bolster up some of my more offensive threats like my Noivern, my Excadrill, or my Darmanitan.
Sure. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Good luck. I hope it gets to see some play. Just because I think Aromatisse is not a bad little mon there. So yeah, hope to see it in action.
It opens up some opportunities for me, so it allows me more game planning.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on, I suppose, to the upcoming games. We can look at the schedule here. By the way, fun little scheduling quirk. This is the only week that all teams on one side of the bracket won. Just thought that was kind of funny. I was like, man, I guess you just wanted to be team left.
That.
What?
We coordinated that. We wanted to appease your your OCD.
Yeah, and it's funny. 5 of the weeks, after I saw that, I was like, huh. And so I looked, and 5 of the weeks it was 2-2. 1 of the weeks it was 3-1. And
I threw it off that week. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. You just let everyone down. Much to Justice's chagrin, I'm sure. But anyway, so we've got, and I gotta be honest, I didn't prepare much for the non-playoff teams. But for the playoff teams, I guess would you rather talk about these first and then me just go into a little bit here, or do you want to do the opposite? Do you want me to talk about this first and then you jump into there?
No, we can talk about Justice and Gabe's first.
Okay. Let's get into Justice versus Gabe, and I strategically placed these next to each other. Let's see where it's.
Oh, very smart.
Right here. Yeah, these two teams right here, so we can kind of look at their teams. I don't know. Do you have anything jumping out at you in terms of like Pokemon that you think would have a good matchup or whatnot?
I would love to see the Arcanine come.
Okay.
I would love to see the Arcanine come. It is unfortunately walled by the Vaporeon, but it's got
you're thinking offensive. You're thinking offensive Arcanine.
I'm thinking offensive Arcanine could be super cool.
What does Wild Charge do to Vaporeon? Does it just not do enough?
I just don't think it does enough. I love Arcanine.
Yeah,
I would just love to see it. And I know that you and I had talked about an Arcanine set that would be pretty cool the other day. But let's see, like a max attack Wild Charge.
I actually don't know the set Gabe usually runs on his Vaporeon. I don't know if he runs it.
I'm just going to assume. Okay, yeah. So a max attack Adamant Arcanine Wild Charge on a max HP, max defense bold Vaporeon only does 40 to 48.
Okay, yeah, so it's not quite.
You're not going to see that.
Yeah.
You're not going to see it as much as I would love to.
Yeah.
I don't think the matchup is that great. I think you've got to bring the Tangrowth.
Yeah.
I do.
Okay.
I think the Tangrowth to knock off the Vaporeon's leftovers is pretty critical to make sure you're not getting stalled out by that. Mm-hmm. You can also maybe knock off Metagross. You can knock off the Crook to get rid of its probably most likely Choice Scarf.
Yeah.
I don't know how great of a matchup his Sand Core has.
Okay.
Justice.
Do you mean his Tyranitar plus Sandslash?
Exactly, yeah. I think the Tyranitar is great. I can hardly think of a scenario where you don't bring Tyranitar.
Yeah, you're always bringing... I don't know.
It's hard to ever justify not bringing a tier 1.
Yeah, I mean, it gets to hit the Mew and the Togekiss real hard.
Yeah, it does. And you saw it last week, Justice bring the Choppleberry on the T-Tar to take the fighting type attacks.
Punch or whatever, yeah.
Take the drain punch, things like that. But I could see him maybe bringing a weakness policy set. Could be interesting if you wanted to go further.
Try to go for a Dragon Dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, +1, he outspeeds the entire squad.
Yeah.
I guess other than technically, Ice Cube would outspeed at +1 once it gets hit.
Right.
Yeah.
Which makes me think that I could see maybe like a special Dragapult coming to be able to hit through the Ice Cube.
Sure.
Yeah, because I could see the Ice Cube coming to handle both T-Tar and Dragapult.
Sure.
I think it handles it better than Auroras does. Auroras, I think, is not going to be coming.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I would be surprised, but yeah.
I would be surprised as well. I think it just doesn't have a great matchup. Yeah. But from Gabe's side, you definitely are going to see the Mew and the Vaporeon. I would say the Togekiss as well, being a fairy type. Yeah. So I would say Mew, Togekiss, Vaporeon. And then it's hard for me to say anything besides Haxorus, Metagross, Crocodile.
Oh, yeah. They're just the most like intrinsically powerful Pokemon.
They're fantastic. If Gabe wanted to get cheeky and bring the Ditto, he could bring a Ditto to try and take any setup opportunities away from Justice.
Sure.
But Ditto is also really tough to do, and then you get yourself locked into one attack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're right. I mean, yeah, I think before he has brought non-choice Scarf Ditto, I think, but yeah, I don't know. I agree. I would expect those 6 Pokemon. I just think they're the 6 best Pokemon on his team. Just straight up. Looking at, I guess, getting into it a little bit, looking at the Mew, I'm probably bringing it, but I'm not bringing a defensive Mew. It doesn't really line up defensively very well at all, I don't think. Mainly because the Tyranitar and the Dragapult just hit it so hard.
Yeah, as well as a first impression from the Durant if it comes, it just doesn't take much well. So yeah. I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be a defensive Mew.
Right. I'd either bring it. I guess you could consider a lead, but even then, I don't know if I'd bring a lead, just because. I don't know who the common leads are, but like Crocodile doesn't really lead against Crocodile, who could be his lead just because maybe it's like his Stealth Rock, or I don't know. So I'd probably bring an offensive set, and I think I might bring something like either like an SD or a Nasty Plot set. With an SD, he actually gets access. I mean, he outspeeds a lot of the things that threaten him, and the things that he doesn't outspeed, a +2 Sucker Punch does a lot of damage to. Like a lot. Like Crocodile, like Dragapult doesn't really want to take a +2 Sucker Punch. And I mean, the what's it called? The Tyranitar can outspeed. Like most of the things, it can just outright outspeed. Let's see. Haxorus, I think, is a pretty good idea as a win condition, just because the Kingdras only have 1 fairy and 1 steel type. So if you could kind of make your game plan, hey, I'm going to try to get rid of these things, and then just click Dragon Dance. I think that could be a fair win condition, especially because I think it gets Poison Jab, so we can hit the Togekiss.
It does get Poison Jab.
Yeah, I don't think it gets the what am I trying to say? I don't think it gets a fire move for Durant, but I can learn Earthquake, which is probably, I guess, what I run.
Yeah, the only fire move Haxorus is getting is Incinerate, which is 60 base power special, and that seems very, very specific to waste a move slot on.
Right. The 2 concerns, and maybe even more concerning, why you want to make sure you kill the Comfey and the Durant, is just because both of those Mons can get priority moves that can do a lot to you. Like Comfey gets Draining Kiss, which is with Triage priority, but unless it's modest specs, I actually did these calcs, it can't OHKO. Durant is probably the bigger problem for it because priority first impression does a ton, but Haxorus can be EV'd to outspeed Dragapult at +1 and still live Jolly Life Orb first impression. So I don't know. It has some options.
Yeah, I think the Haxorus is a fantastic bring. It's really interesting that Gabe's only brought the Haxorus twice.
Is that true? I believe you.
He's only brought it twice this season, and for something that's so strong and so flexible.
Yeah.
In terms of its lead, it can be a sweeper, it can be a bulky physical attacker.
Yeah, it's a good scarfer too, just because it doesn't.
Scarfer. It's a great scarf core with Crook.
Sure. Yeah, no, it is. It's a good scarfer just because its ability is already like. Its attack is so high, sometimes you don't even really need to click Dragon Dance. You just need something fast that can hit real hard. And if you can get rid of the fairies and then click like Outrage or whatever, things are gonna die. Yeah, and then I guess speaking of Durant on the other side, I think it's really important here. Priority first impression is like a pretty good. It does actually pretty well here. It's good against the Mew. Like I said, it's like a good safety valve against the Haxorus. It also gives him something to outspeed and threaten the Togekiss. Like Ironhead, I think, just outright Okos most of the time. Durant can't really switch into Togekiss because A, Togekiss learns Flamethrower, and B, T-Wave, it doesn't really want to see the T-Wave. Air Slash does a lot too. Durant's special defense is like awful. Let's see. So
special defense.
Yeah, so that makes me think, maybe you even try. I don't know what he would need to do, but like maybe he could bring Incinerate or whatever and like do a lot to this thing. But go ahead.
Something else that the Durant lets you with first impression is it guarantees the Oko on a Scarf Crook. So if that Crook is in, and you get a safe switch out, or you maybe sack something to bring the Durant in, Gabe either has to sack the Crook or switch it out, and then something still has to take a first impression either way.
Yeah.
And then is most likely going to be outsped the next turn as well.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, no, you're right. I think Durant's very important. I would expect to see it. Let's see. Vaporeon also is just very annoying for this team to deal with.
Always.
It doesn't really have and he doesn't have a ton of offensive. his only. He actually only has one grass. Well, sorry, he has Lantern, but Lantern's never going to kill a a Thunderbolt from Lantern just isn't going to do enough.
With its base 76 special attack.
So unless he brings a very offensive Tangrowth, I don't think your plan to kill it is strong attacking moves. I think you just bring Toxic on a couple of things.
Yeah, I agree. There's nothing that he can hit that. He can hit the Vaporeon with super effectively enough to put it down. Unless he brings a Specs Dragapult with some kind of electric attack.
You're right. I think I did run those calcs, and he needs to be he because even just max special attack modest Thunderbolt I think doesn't do enough. It does 48 max or something, but unless if he has Life Orb or something, sure, or Specs, he can. I think he can get it done, especially assuming that the Vaporeon is not investing a ton into special defense. But even then, Vaporeon actually does get Heal Bell. He never brings it, but I don't know. It could be a problem. The other plan he could have is just, he does have a couple of setup options, like we talked about the Tyranitar. If the Tyranitar can get going with a Dragon Dance or two, it can do quite a bit. I don't know. The Crobat, again, pretty good option just because if he brings Toxic, it can't be Toxic back and he can just roost off everything. So,
yes.
Again, Lantern, similar. He basically can't hurt the Lantern, and Lantern can run Toxic and Heal Bell, and Water Absorb, and just sit in on that thing all day. So,
yeah, it'll be interesting. I really think that Justice, in my opinion, I think Justice's team has the better matchup against Gabe's team. But it'll be interesting to see with how many options Justice has, which one he ends up going for.
Sure. Yeah. No, I I agree. It'll be interesting to see just how it plays out. I don't know what to expect really. We'll find out. I'm often surprised, as many of you have seen in my my thumbnails that I choose. I'm often surprised by the Pokemon people choose to bring. But anyways, just so we have enough time to talk about the MVPs, I'm going to choose to move on to the other playoff game. And then, again, just for the sake of time, I think we're not really going to talk about the non-playoff games. But know that they're happening, and they can also be fun. So the Metagross versus the Thundurus. From the Metagross side, I don't know if I'm the Metagross. I'm looking at Arctozolt, and I think that if I can get it in cleanly in the hail, it's pretty much a guaranteed kill. So I would probably build my game plan around that. Also, I know that Life Orb boosts the offensive power of your moves and whatnot, but I would consider not bringing it just so I can maximize the amount of times I can attack with it. I don't actually know the exact number on that, but it felt like Life Orb did quite a bit of damage to the Zolt. Looks like at least, I'm guessing this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 40, so 39% I think of his health. So I would consider not bringing Life Orb just to increase the longevity. Something like E-Belt, maybe one of the plates, like the electric plate or the ice plate, or even heavy duty boots, I think is a pretty good option. Just because, again, that was another thing that really limited the amount of times he could punch things, was just having those rocks up. I would also look for a way to deal with hazards. Rocks played a very, very big role in the Week 7 loss, so I think I would bring either the Defog Neuvorn or the Rapid Spin Drill. I think you could probably bring either and feel okay about it. I think I'd bring Neuvorn for two reasons. One, it has Roost, and that I like my defoggers to have that reliable recovery. I don't know, I want them to be able to defog as many times as I need them to, and sometimes even Landorus sometimes runs into this problem where he's just limited on the amount of times he can switch in and defog. And two, because Corsola is almost for sure coming, and I think it's a pretty good spin blocker for two reasons. One, it's a spin blocker. He can't spin on it. And two, Austin's pretty comfortable switching the Corsola into the Excadrill just because Excadrill has a pretty hard time breaking it, especially with Strength Sap. Even at +2, I think Drill has a hard time breaking it, assuming he can get a Strength Sap off. I also would not bring Drill as a sweeper. It's just clean stonewalled by Corviknight, and especially if that Corviknight brings Body Press. Like I said, it also has a hard time bringing Corsola. I would also consider bringing Thunderbolt on Porygon just so I could beat Corviknight 1v1. That matchup proved, I guess, pivotal last week, and I wouldn't want to lose it again. Though I suppose you do, assuming unless you can also fit Ice Beam. If you do bring Thunderbolt, then you risk losing to Whimsicott, even without getting PP stalled. So I don't know, maybe try to fit both of those in. From the other side, I honestly don't know what I would do about the Zolt. He does have a lot of things that resist one or are immune to one. Last time, it sort of ended up mattering. Donphan was able to come in on a Bolt Beak, and he can actually one-shot back with an EQ. He can't switch in super safely again because he could be scared of that Icicle Crash or whatever. Though having things like Donphan, and even things that resist the just resist electricity in general, like the Sawsbuck or the Slow King or whatever, sort of put him into these 50-50s that can help stall out the hail if he gets it right. Corsola actually does okay against it. It can't switch into it very well, depending on the Corsola set. If it's max defense, it maybe can, but it probably loses after hail damage. But again, even if the Corsola can come in, like it does, like if he just makes a sack and then brings in the Corsola, he can do that and feel okay about it. But Corsola should probably be wary of like a sub, because if the Zolt can get up a sub, then it's just really bad for Austin, mainly because Strength Sap can't go through it. Also, another couple options I think you could consider is even after the Slush Rush boost, the Zolt isn't that fast. Some Scarfed Mons on his team outspeed the Zolt. I think base 90 speed and higher. So I think exactly anything Porygon or faster can outspeed and do a lot. Adaptability Porygon doesn't actually OHKO unless it's modest, but then it I don't know, but it comes really close. One option he has is Ninetales is actually okay. It can be EV'd to live a Bolt Beak, and then it also gets to set the sun on the switch in, so now it outspeeds anyways, and then it can OHKO back with like a flamethrower. It could also like just Will-O-Wisp it, just to permanently hurt it. It even has Pain Split, so it could, I don't know, do something cute with that. The Metagross actually kind of have a hard time switching into a Ninetales in the sun. Like Solar Beam even threatens to 2-hit KO Bro. Flamethrower hits some of the more important members of the team, like Drill and both Ice types. Admittedly, Ninetales is kind of risky just because of Darmanitan. Boosted Flare Blitzes, probably 2-hit KOs. I didn't do the calcs, but I just assume it 2-hit KOs literally everything. So yeah, I don't know, and again, I don't know if I'd bring Ninetales as like my dedicated Zolt counter, because like, yeah, I can live a Bolt Beak, but it's not gonna live it. Like he can't rely on that multiple times basically. Yeah, I don't know. It does have other uses, though, I suppose. Like, it lets him bring the Sawsbuck, which I really do think has a pretty good matchup here. I know people have been making fun of me for saying a tier 5 is, like, really good here, but nothing on the Metagross team resists both stabs. And at +2 in the sun, I think he could sweep. Or at least, especially if he like, chips the right things. Like, the Noivern probably needs to be chipped a bit. Yeah, and also make sure the Ninetales is dead so he can't switch the Weather Bag on him. But yeah, that's that matchup and my thoughts in general on it. Yeah, okay. I guess I'd ask you if you have anything to say, but I'm sure you don't really want to reveal anything. So let's move on to our last segment, which is Team MVPs. Yes. So yeah, let me go over here to the team. Oh, that's damage. Let's just look at the teams here. We'll start with the Bidoofs. Looking at the Bidoofs, what do you think, Harrison? I think this one's obvious, but I'll throw it to you.
It's hard to argue if you have your kill leader leading in damage dealt and second in damage taken on the team, and the only Mon that you've brought has at least a neutral kill death ratio.
Yep.
It's hard to argue against the Gyarados in any aspect. I think you could maybe. Oh my goodness, no! I thought I was looking at the wrong column. I thought Victini had 6 kills, but now I see it has 0.
Victini had a rough season.
It's absolutely the Gyarados in my opinion.
It's gotta be. Yeah, and I mean it literally has half of his kills, like actual half.
Actually, half of them. Yeah. And a very, very far second place is going to be the Clefable.
I agree.
Taking all of that damage. Mm-hmm. Wasn't able to snag a kill, but Clefable isn't really meant to be an offensive presence.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it has calm mindsets.
Taken more. I wish it would have taken more damage.
Yeah.
Than just 898.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I pretty much 100% agree. I do wish we saw the Conch more, just because I think that Mon's very powerful. And if he can, I don't know, if you can, it kind of wants Mons that can, like, get it in. So, like, if he had something with, like, teleport or something that can, like, get it safely in, or something, like, if it's running Guts and it doesn't care that much if it gets status, so he can switch in on, like, a predicted status, whatever, something like that. It's very, very hard to switch into a Conkeldurr. So I don't know. I think that's a Mon I could have seen been in the running if if he would have brought it more, but I think it's pretty cut and dry that it's the Gyarados.
Yeah, something we never saw from the Clefable was teleport, because Clef can learn it to teleport into the Conch, and the Clefable is pretty bulky, so it usually wants to force a switch into something that can hit it or toxic it.
Sure.
Having a teleport into Conkeldurr is nice, and it's a really good pivot option. But we didn't get to see it, unfortunately, so maybe sometime next season someone will draft the Conch, and we'll get to see maybe a little bit more of its offensive presence.
Yep, I agree, but I guess we'll see. Anyway, I mean, I guess he could bring it in the toilet bowl and make an impact, but we'll see.
That'd be awesome.
Yep, the Golden State War Turtles. I think this one could be controversial, just because. Well, I don't know. I guess I'll go first.
Go ahead.
Okay. I don't know. I'm so torn on this because, yes, Vaporeon has the most damage. It has the most, second most kills. It took the most damage. I think it even took the most damage in the league. But I'm telling you, like, so much of that damage was garbage time. As the person who does the damage, there was just a lot of that damage that was inconsequential, or just like the whole, like, I think there was like 50 turns, like literally 50 turns at the end of his game against Trevor, the Mudkips, where that game was over. But it just lasted like 90 turns, and I think he had 900 and something of his damage there. Same with again this last week, he had quite a bit of damage too. Let me check really quick. He dealt 534 damage, but like 90% of that damage didn't matter. That game was over by the time it was just the Vaporeon, and I forget what the last mon was. Oh man. So I guess I'm going to give it to the Mew, just because I don't know, some of the damage it did against you really mattered. Again, the Vaporeon really mattered in that game too, but more just because it walled the last like two things on your team than the amount of damage it did. The Mew led that game in damage. It also soloed a team, led the team in kills. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's controversial, and maybe that's incorrect, and maybe I'm just salty because I spent so much of my life calculating like Vaporeon toxic and scald damage. But yeah, what do you think?
I totally understand the going back and forth between the Mew and the Vaporeon. I think for me, I still would give it to the Vaporeon, regardless of the damage dealt and damage taken being a lot of it being garbage time. I still do think it being so bulky, being a wish passer, I think really allowed Gabe a lot of flexibility to take some big hits that Mew didn't want to, and allowed it to open up for some of his more offensive threats. I think the Mew is a fantastic option, and I wouldn't argue against the Mew at all either. But if it was up to me, I would give it to the Vaporeon.
Sure. I mean, I don't like. I wouldn't argue like if someone said they think the Vaporeon. I mean, because I agree. Like that thing was so hard to break. Like, I mean, I think we have a defensive mon of the year category, and I fully expect Vaporeon to win that. Like not close. It did win a couple of games that I don't know if he would have won without it. So I'm not going to argue with you. Okay. The Monfernos. I think, another cut and dry one here. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
It's all so bad. I don't think you can give it anything but the Feraligatr just because it leads the team in kills.
Really? Okay. We disagree.
I disagree.
I was just going to say the Dragonite because, I mean, it's actually, I think it's the only thing on the team that's positive in damage, at least. Like, it actually did more damage than it took. And while the Feraligatr did get, I think, more kills, like, one of the kills it got was on the Corsola, for example, and that kill was set up because the Dragonite did so much more than than he thought. Like, I think it did a 56% outrage, and that forced Austin to get it out of there, and then it switched into the Feraligatr later. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. The Feraligatr would definitely be my second, because it also just like, I don't know, and sometimes you just, there's something to like the eye test, and it just feels like the Feraligatr kind of passed the eye test. Like it did feel like it made an impact, so I'm not going to argue with you too much on that. Yeah.
This one, unfortunately, there's just not a lot shining for this team, unfortunately. But hopefully we'll be able to see maybe some different stuff happen if they play in the toilet bowl.
Yep. All right, the Mudkips. I mean, I think this one's cut and dry also, but I guess I'll go this time. I think it's a Chansey. It was kind of the lone bright spot, like consistent. Like I think maybe the Jirachi could make it, but it also went to 2 less games. I don't know. And I don't know. Chancey brings rocks. People bring rocks. Also, I thought, who I thought had a pretty good season, even though he came in kind of late, was the Virizion. I was pretty impressed with that thing.
Yeah, it had a great kill on my Noivern with the prediction.
Yep, and it was, it really felt like that was the thing keeping him in the game against the Excadrill also.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. What do you think?
I agree with you on the Chansey. I think being able to deal so much damage with just a passive rocks damage and toxic damage and take so much and still be neutral in their kill death. I think is pretty remarkable. I do think if the Jirachi had been on the team for the full season, it would have run away with the team MVP award. But because it was at 2 less games, it had less time to rack up damage dealt and kills. So even though it did end up leading the team in kills, I don't think it separated itself enough from the overall contributions that Chansey made.
I agree. I do think if we could somehow extrapolate it or assume that it went to 7, I think it would have got the MVP. I mean, it even had 7 kills, which is by a decent amount the highest, but. All right, the Metagross. This is you, sir. You can go first. I guess I went first last time.
Talking about the eye test, it's hard to argue against the Excadrill for my team.
Agree.
Leading my team in that much damage, and having 12 kills on the season, being up there among the leaderboard, and
over double, right? Over double what anyone else on your team did in terms of damage.
No, the Noivern's got 7.
Yeah, but isn't 749 is...
Oh, I'm sorry. You were talking about damage. Yeah.
Sorry, damage, sorry.
Yeah, no, with damage, it just outpaces double the damage. And I think that shows the differences between the Excadrill and the Noivern. The Noivern is more of a frail or strong, special attacker, and the Excadrill has a little bit more... staying power to stay in and deal a little bit more damage. Even though it only took 38 points more damage throughout the season...
Yeah.
So I would say it's by far the Excadrill. And if you want to get into minutia, I think Gigalith also did a great job setting up for the Excadrill a lot of times. And then the Bro taking 1,000 damage and only dying twice and getting 2 kills on top of that is very, it shows a really strong defensive core.
Yeah, and I think the drill separated itself a little bit from, I know at some point during the season you said you thought that the Gigalith was your MVP, but I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, against Trevor, which was probably, in my opinion, Excadrill's best game, I don't think he was Sandrush, right? Wasn't he Moldbreaker or something?
Against
Trevor? Yeah, against the Mudkips. Do you remember what Excadrill you brought? Because that was the game where I think he killed every single mon, but he did it sort of, or very close. He killed 5 or 6 mons, and I think he wasn't.
He got every single kill that match.
Yeah.
And I don't. I can pull it up.
Well, regardless, I thought he proved, because that game, it wasn't really about, even if it was, he didn't he wasn't relying on Sandrush. He was using Rapid Spin to set up. He clicked.
He was a setup drill that week.
Yeah, and he had the Swords Dance, and I don't know. And I mean, he took so much damage that game. He just had a great game. That was one of the better all around games, I think, of any Pokemon this season. All right, moving right along. We only have 6 minutes. The Oklahoma City Thunderous. Man, this one is kind of weird just because he made so many changes, especially right here at the end. The Landorus T came 6 times. And I mean,
very disappointing.
The Landorus T?
I think so.
Yeah, it was okay. I mean, it had 6 kills, 3 deaths. It did have a positive in damage dealt and taken.
Yeah. But averaging only 1 kill a game for your tier 1 offensive threat, I think is underperformance.
Sure. Okay. I don't know. Do you think it's the Corsola? It only came 4 times.
I don't see how it couldn't be the Corsola.
Yeah, it led the team in damage dealt and damage taken and kills.
Yeah. Even if it only came 4 times, leading the team by a ton in both categories.
Yeah.
And having such a great kill differential. I think the Corsola was just phenomenal for him.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It only came basically half the time, but I agree. I think it's cut and dry. I think it's the Corsola.
I don't see how you could argue it.
Yeah. Porygon Z had some moments, but...
It did.
This game, I mean, I do feel like the Kingdras were kind of one of the more balanced teams.
I agree.
Like if you look at some of these kills, like I don't know, 5 kills, 1 death, 8 kills, 3 deaths, 3 different things with over 900 damage. If you the Tyranitar, the Swampert, and the Dragapult. I do think it was the Tyranitar, though. I don't know. Do you have any disagreement there?
I don't disagree, and I would love to say no, it's Swampert. Swampert would be my second place pick.
I mean, it was his first pick.
It was his first pick, which was very interesting to see a tier 3 go as a round 1 pick.
Sure.
But with T-Tar dealing so much damage and having so many kills, and just being a consistent bring in any situation, I think the Tyranitar definitely takes it.
Yeah, I do think the Tangrowth was really good. Again, it felt like it didn't come that much. It only came 4 times. But it did have 5 kills and 1 death.
If the Tangrowth came a couple more times, I think it could definitely have a case for it.
Mm-hmm. And it only
wasn't brought a lot.
Yeah. Right, and like I said, it was brought 4 times and only died once. That's pretty impressive, I think.
And Dragapult being the only one he brought every single time.
Yep. Yeah. Interesting. Surprising. I forget why he didn't bring Tyranitar that 1 week, but all right. Last one. I think this one's pretty obvious.
It's definitely the Cloyster.
It's got to be the Cloyster had. Oh, didn't quite have half his kills. I was looking. I was wondering if he had half his kills, but did not. But I mean, it had 15 kills, led the league in kills, led the league in like kill death differential. Was like what, 3rd in damage or something.
Something like that.
Yeah, and I mean, it was just the Mon that like people were talking about, that people were afraid of.
Yes, it forced you to game plan a lot for specifically one threat.
Yeah. I agree. Articuno probably had the best single game performance, but it's not even on the
pulling
team.
out in the very first week. Yeah,
I still can't believe that happened. Just all that.
That was a crazy game.
It was, but yeah, I do think it's the Cloyster. I think it's got.
I think it's the Cloyster, and the Cloyster definitely is going to be up there in the whole league MVP voting as well.
Right. I would expect it to finish top 3.
Absolutely, I would see it being between the Cloyster.
I think the Vaporeon will come close to. I think the
Vaporeon too. It's a matter of will the coaches want to differentiate between the actual stats and what was garbage time.
Yeah, and maybe I'll try to do, but that's still subjective because when I determine I thought about doing those numbers, but I just was like, that's going to take me so long, and I've already watched.
Yeah, I think it's very tough to make that call for someone else.
Yeah, but yeah, all right. I know we only have a couple minutes, but do you have anything you'd like to say before we sign off?
I'm really excited to see how the playoffs go. I'm really excited to see the game that Justice and Gabe are going to have. And then even though mine and Austin's game is going to get pushed out a little bit later, I think it gives us both extra time to make sure we craft really, really good teams to bring against each other and both bring our best.
Yeah, I agree. 100% agree. I look forward to the playoffs too. And some off-season stuff. I have some off-season stuff I'm looking forward to. But yeah. All right. Thank you, Harrison, for being on.
Thank you so much, Bo. I appreciate it. And thank you so much for doing all these videos and stuff. You are the unsung hero of this league. No problem, man. It was my pleasure. All right. Let's just end it here. Thanks, Harrison, again. And thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll see you next time.